Good morning and welcome to our Sycamore Township workshop meeting for November the 17th, 2020. The time is 9 a.m. Once again, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the guidelines to limit public gatherings to 10 people or less by Governor DeWine and the Director of Health, and due to House Bill 197, which permits Ohio governments to meet remotely, this meeting is being held without members of the public physically present. This meeting is being live streamed and video will be available on our website. Let the record show that all three trustees are present: Vice Chairman Tom James, Tom Weedman, and me, Jim LeBarber, the chairman. I'm making a motion to approve the October 21st, 2020 special trustees meeting minutes. Do we have a second? Comments? Vice Chairman James?
Aye.
Tom Weedman?
Aye.
Me? Aye. I'll make a motion to approve the November the 5th, 2020 trustees meeting minutes. Do we have a second? Comments? Roll call. Vice Chairman Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Me, Mr. LeBarber, aye. Fiscal Officer Rob Porter's up now with the bills and the receipts.
We have receipts of $168,359.98, disbursements of $340,683.19. A complete listing of receipts and disbursements is available in the packet.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
And aye. Any comments? Questions? Okay. We'll go on to Mr. Chief Penny. Lieutenant Mike Bartar is not here today.
No.
Okay, the EMS fire report. Here's Chief Penny. COVID-19, I understand there's been a little bit of a spike here,
A little bit of a spike. First of all, I wanted to tell you that we had a house fire this morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, but I didn't send you guys anything because it wasn't that serious. There was a mattress caught fire in a bedroom. And I didn't want to wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It wasn't newsworthy, so I passed on it this time. I just tell you.
Where was it, Chief?
On Elizabeth, kind of a small house there on Elizabeth
Okay.
Place. Undetermined on what caused it. They're still looking at it, but
Anybody hurt?
no.
Okay.
Yeah, the COVID update, the spike has gone nuts. We just since our meeting in our last trustees meeting on the 5th, I think it was, the 7th, we've had 84 additional cases of people that have been diagnosed with the COVID that have been quarantined in their residence. So that's quite a bit. We get a report about every 2 days, and they've been 20, 25 a day, it seems like. The one day we had 3, one day we had 9, the rest of them in the 20s. So it's been quite a gathering. And then our runs have been picking up. We've had a lot more high fever runs and sick people that have the symptoms related to it. So it's out there. We're doing our best to keep it going. We do have a couple firefighters that are being tested currently now that might be affected. So, and other than that, I just got a resolution for pay. I think Mr. Work was going to read that on this.
This is a resolution to set the pay for the 2 new firefighters we just hired. One is it Mark Pataco?
Yeah.
Pataco. And he will be paid at the rate of $23.86 per hour, and Kevin Rogers will be paid at the rate of $29.03 an hour. The reason they're different pays is coming in because they're kind of lateral hires, if you will, based on their experience. Those wages are per the collective bargaining agreement, of course. The resolutions, I'll read the title: a resolution setting the rate of pay for newly hired full-time township employees in the Sycamore Township Fire Department.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll call. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. LeBarber? Aye. Chief, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Question, the firefighters who were out being tested, are they actually ill or have they been exposed? They're ill. Sorry to hear that.
I'm going to move along. Mr. Cullums, Tracy Cullums, our road supervisor.
I don't have a lot today. I did the final walkthrough with the state on the Sycamore Road project yesterday. They were very impressed with the project, had a very small list of insignificant items to look at as a punch list. We had already walked it and done a punch list twice with the contractor, so we're about ready to close that out as soon as that punch list is finished. But the state was impressed. They were happy with it. Other than that, leaf pickup continues. As you know, they're busy right now. It's all we're doing every day, all day. It's been going smoothly though. And we're putting together our package to go out on the street for our paving project. So we're trying to get that out here soon. That parks crew is still working in the parks, cleaning those up and cutting grass for, we hope, one last time, but if we still get these 60-degree weather like we've been having, the grass may never stop anymore. So that's really all I have today, unless you have questions for me.
Tracy, I tell you, Sycamore Road looks fabulous. You got a great job. Now, next year,
Turned out really nice.
beautiful.
It-
Yeah, next year, this time, will we be saying the same thing about Krugler Mill?
I certainly hope so.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thank you, Trace. Skylar Miller is
Actually,
the,
well, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The stop signs at Weatherfield, I haven't been by there in a few weeks. Are those in, or is that still in
They're
progress?
going up probably as we speak.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else for Trace? Skylar Miller is the Sycamore Township Planning and Zoning Administrator. What do you have for us, Skylar?
Happy to report that we can remove the resolution for 6460 Euclid Avenue from the agenda. That property's been abated. We checked on it this morning. So, it is a I wouldn't call them a frequent flyer, but we have had multiple issues in the past, so we'll keep an eye on it, but it's not worth moving forward today. Aside from that, Steve Roydal Sofer and I met with Raj from Cagis. Raj Chandor? Yeah. From Cagis yesterday virtually, and discussed Cagis upgrades coming to Sycamore Township. There's for the public benefit, there's going to be a new unified application process where it's going to be kind of a virtual one-stop shop for an applicant to go in and see all the agencies that they would need to apply to for different activities. So just a lot of information and easy to use information at their fingertips. There's also going to be new public reporting. Better reports that we'll be able to produce for the trustees and information that the public can receive. Most importantly for me is is new mapping capability, so I can finish the maps for the comprehensive plan. That should be online here in the next month. So the text document of the comp plan, I'm going to call it a finished final draft. I'm sure the land use steering committee may tweak it before it goes to zoning commission and trustees, but we're close. So, and I'll get the maps to reflect those text amendments as soon as I get that software upgrade. We are also working on text amendments for the staff recommendations for text amendments for our zoning resolution. We're looking at how we define yards, area allowances for fences, looking at landscaping buffer yards, especially where commercial and residential meet, looking at the clear sight triangle language, and site lighting standards. So that's kind of a short rundown of some of the things that we're looking at. We'll be taking those items to zoning commission for further discussion as well. Okay. That's all I have.
Question about that. I know when the zoning commission was going through the text amendment process before with the old flawed red line they were working from, there was a lot of public comments submitted during that, and the zoning commission had a lot of good comments too. Have you been able to take those things into account and what the staff is looking at?
I've seen some of those. I haven't been through the minutes of all of those meetings, but my take was that that whole process had stalled out. So we're trying to look at it with fresh eyes first, and then kind of comparing. I don't want to get into the rut of trying to recreate that process only to miss something.
Yeah.
So
If you would, after you come up with your thoughts on it, though, if you would look back at that then, I think there was some valuable commentary. I know I participated in some of that process, and there were some people much smarter than me in the room who had some really good ideas.
All right. Maybe I can pick your brain offline.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments, any other comments? Deepak is not here, Desai, our law director.
He will be joining by phone or some means for the executive sessions. He hurt his back.
Okay. Hope he's feeling better. Well, Mr. Ray Warwick is up. He's our township administrator.
All I have is a large PO. This is for the Larch View and Plainfield Road improvement. This is this particular project would take up our entire budget. I think road budget for next year. I think we've mentioned that before, but now since we have the program of the 25% of the TIF money, which we'll be bringing that full plan to you sometime soon, so we can proceed with this large view comfortably. Unfortunately, we can't use TIF dollars in that regard because this is a whole redo of the road. The TIF language on the 25% reads that it has to be maintenance, and this obviously is a reconstruction and it goes beyond maintenance. So the large PO this morning is just for the engineering portion of the project. And do we have matching funds on this one?
We do.
Okay.
On the construction, yes. There's no matching funds on the engineering. now.
Okay.
And they have already approved a resolution
Yes.
for the engineering to be done.
Right. And this PO will be paid out of the JED funds. They are appropriated, and as Tracy said, you have approved it already. So the amount on this large PO for this morning is $246,700 made out to Choice One Engineering.
Motion to approve. Second.
Roll,
One discussion point, if I may, minor point, I don't want to call out whoever it might be here either, but there's a typo in the PO description and it says plain filed road in a couple places. Can we fix that in the system just so if someone's searching for Plainfield later, it turns up properly?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Okay.
okay, roll. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye. Anything else, Ray?
No, I have nothing else.
Okay, we're at trustee comments, trustee items. Any items?
Question for Mr. Weedman, actually. The Hamilton County Township Association, I know I've asked about that before.
Yep.
Will it be meeting at all virtually or in person this year?
We would probably have a virtual meeting by the end, probably in December.
Okay.
It all depends on a couple of things. Number one, if this legislation that's gonna go through to allow us to continue to meet remotely, we'll probably have Bill Seitz on there with us. Or Bill Blessing to explain exactly what the parameters are. So I'm still working out the details.
Okay. I ask because there are a few other appointments to county boards that I think the Township Association in conjunction with the trustees have typically appointed. We took care of the integrating committee
That's
months
correct.
ago, but there are some others as well. Land
That's
use
correct.
revitalization, I think, and some others. So
That's correct.
that's a topic to bring up with the Township Association, and then the board can act on it as needed. So
Okay,
that's all I've got.
Is
Thanks.
there election of officers?
As soon as we have our new bylaws put together, we will have election as well.
Yeah, I did talk with Bill Seitz, and I'm sure the same thing you were talking to him about in House Bill 197 as it expires, and he seemed very confident. He said it's going to happen. Jim, don't give it a second thought, then he asked me if I thought 6 months sounds good. An extension of 6 months, does that
Yep.
seem to be what you're hearing? Any other comments?
I had suggested to him that instead of it being connected to the health emergency, that it be, that have a finite date of drop dead, so that, because I don't know how much longer this thing's gonna go on. It may go on for a while, and I think that it should be reviewed at that
Yes, sir.
time, so.
Anything else, Tom?
Yeah, I'm on the Hamilton County COVID defense team, and I just want to talk a little bit about, we had our meeting yesterday, and one of the things that Dr. Richard Lofgren said in our previous meeting with the governor a couple of weeks ago was, you know, we're seeing we're seeing an increase in COVID cases, but we're also seeing an increase in testing. He attributes most of the increase in cases to COVID fatigue, which people are getting tired of wearing masks, they're getting tired of doing a little bit of everything, and so between that and increasing the size of our bubble, you know, we have kids at school that are going to be coming home at Thanksgiving. That increases the size of the bubble. You know, you might have friends over. That increases the size of the bubble, and they're saying that that is probably the biggest contributor to the increase in COVID cases. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which is coming up next week, is probably the largest bar night, or one of the largest bar nights on the calendar, with kids coming home from school, meeting their friends. And so I'm just encouraging all of our residents. I know I have great confidence in our residents to act properly and make good decisions, and just encouraging them to take precautions if they're going to participate in that. COVID has struck our Sycamore Township family here. We have multiple cases of COVID on our staff. I would urge employees, if they feel the need to work from home, we are now in a position where we have the ability for them to work at home, and I would strongly urge them to exercise that option if they feel the need to do that. And contingent upon legislation allowing us to meet, I know that the legislation hopefully will be taken care of before December 1st, but I would encourage us to consider also potentially, if this continues to stay at the level it's at, to potentially consider meeting remotely our first two meetings in the first week of December. I think it'd be prudent to do that. We're capable of meeting remotely and doing it successfully and including the public, and so for that reason I think there's no reason not to consider that. So that's all I have.
Announcement changes. Check our calendar on the township website. Next meeting will be on December the 1st. That's a trustee workshop, and again, that'll be at 9 a.m. Now, we do have 3 executive sessions. We're going to go to one, come back, go to the second one, come back. We'll do the 3 back and forth. The first executive session, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn into an executive session with Law Director Deepak Desai, as permitted by Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, preparing for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. I'm inviting trustees, the 3 trustees, Administrator Ray Warwick, Fiscal Officer Rob Porter, and Fire Chief Penny. Do we have a second?
Motion. Second.
Okay, any comments? The roll call.
Can you add Tracy and Beth to this first one, please?
Tracy and Beth also? Okay. Tracy Cullums, invited also, and Beth Gunderson to this first executive session. Roll call, Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Friedman.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye. We are now going to leave our regular session. It is 9:19.
the contract and insurance.
We're back in regular session. The time now is 9:55. We do have some motions.
Roll call.
Roll call, Mr. Weedman,
Present.
Mr. James.
Present.
Mr. LaBarbera, present.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the collective bargaining contract on the, with the conditions as proposed.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman,
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye.
And I'd like to make a motion to approve the insurance plan with both HRA and HSA options as proposed.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Mr. James,
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera, aye. Okay, the time is now 9:55. We're going to go to the second executive session and leave our regular session. For the second executive session, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn into an executive session with Law Director Deepak Desai as permitted by Ohio Revised Code Section 12122 to discuss ongoing litigation. I'm inviting our administrator and the 3 trustees. Do we have a second motion?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera. Aye. We are now leaving our regular session.
Back on, I'll get Rob.
We are back in regular session now. It is 10:05. Let me call the roll. Mr. James,
Here?
Mr. Weedman.
Present.
Mr. LaBarbera, here. Let's give Mr. Porter a second to get back in here. And we've just come out of an executive session with our law director, Deepak Desai.
You just can't stand dead air, can you, when there's a microphone in front of you?
You know, you're right. That was absolutely a cardinal sin in radio. Go to dead air. Okay, Mr. Porter's back. Can we put the microphone on Mr. Deepak? Let Deepak be hot.
We're gonna try this.
Okay, and we have, you have a motion? We have motions?
Okay. I move that the board approve the settlement agreement in the case involving the fiscal officer and trustees, which is currently pending in Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call. Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. Weedman?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye.
Okay, here's the document.
So somebody witnessing this?
Yeah, I guess
Yep.
one of us could witness.
The world. But somebody's got to sign it.
Do you want to call Beth in just to have her as a witness?
Well, she didn't see it, so Ray will need to.
I'll do it.
Okay, Skylar will do it.
Do I sign 4 times?
Yeah.
Witness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to UAN agreement. We'll read that.
Do we have a resolution, right?
Yes, I have a resolution. The resolution is to have us move forward with the UAN, and I also have the UAN participating agreement that you could sign also today if you like, which just sets the thing in motion. As indicated, we're not going to go live on UAN until April 1st of next year, but there are some preliminary stuff that we could be doing in anticipation of that. So the resolution reads, a resolution to participate in the Uniform Accounting Network established by the Auditor of State and to enter into a participation agreement with the Auditor of State.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second. Roll call. Comments? Roll call.
Yeah, I'm going to have to vote no on this. I'm going to express the same concerns I had originally, and that is that in 2 of my conversations with our CPA, Mark Hurst, he had suggested that the UAN software was, and I quote, a step backwards. If we want a more robust accounting software, he had suggested 3 other software packages. Unfortunately, it appears as though none of these 3 software packages were actually considered. This became a very binary decision between Bucks and UAN, and I'm not sure that's what's best for the township. based on what Mark Hurst, our CPA, and a CPA who handles probably 21 or 22 different municipalities and townships, has suggested based on what our needs are for accounting. So for that reason, I'm not going to be able to support this.
Okay, so you have a nay, and Mr. James?
Well, we're discussing, so we haven't voted, but
Go ahead.
in reality, our finance committee examined all of these options and spoke with Mr. Hurst about it, and their consensus, I think their unanimous agreement, in fact, after speaking with Mr. Hurst, was UAN is not a step backwards, it's a step forward, and it will enable the additional reporting that the township has been wanting to have, at least some of the trustees and the administrator. So I think it's a good step forward, and if there's reason to move on to something more sophisticated later, we can certainly do it. But this is the direction to go.
Mr. James, just to correct the record, these other three options were not considered by the Finance Committee. What you're saying is incorrect. They were not considered, they were not studied in any detail whatsoever as to whether or not they could better benefit the township. So what you're saying is incorrect. That's not true. They were not considered by the Finance Committee. That it was a binary decision, and unfortunately, we don't even have a recording of that meeting for some unknown reason. But the reality is, it was a binary decision based on just 2 software packages, not 5.
Well, I had a discussion with Mr. Hurst as well, and he assured me UAN was not a step backwards
Well,
in this instance. So-
he's told that to me twice, and he's told that to Mr. Porter as well. So
All right.
if that's the case, then maybe we should bring Mr. Hurst in here. I think that might be a good idea, so he can decipher exactly what it actually is, whether it is or it isn't. But
I'd love to hear from Mr. Hurst to decipher a lot of things, but
But,
we have just entered into a settlement agreement, which indicates we are moving forward with UAN anyway, so I think we need to vote on this.
Mr. James?
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera? Aye.
Okay, here's the resolution.
and for the record, I'm a no.
Resolution is signed, and then trustees should sign at the yellow arrow, and the blue arrow is where Mr. Porter would sign.
You signed the right place?
There's also the resolution we need to sign.
You have that. You signed it. Tom, you didn't sign this one.
Are we adjourning?
No, we're waiting for the signatures. We're waiting for the signatures. When he's done signing everything, then we'll move. everything signed? Everything signed? Let me just add one thing to this. The reason we were going with, they were going with UAN, and the Citizens Finance Committee agreed on it, is that 94% of the townships in Ohio are on this system. And it's economically, it's designed by the auditor's office for a reason. And that's the reason we went on it. And it's also very inexpensive. It's under, what, $335 a year or something, $335 a month. So that was the reason. And this lawsuit, this TRO that we just settled, county auditor said that he had never seen anything like this in 30 years. So we are now leaving the regular meeting. We're going to go into an executive session. This is our third executive session. I make a motion to adjourn into executive session with Law Director Deepak Desai as permitted by the Ohio Revised Code 121-22 to discuss the compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
I'm inviting our three trustees. Do we have a second motion?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. James.
Aye.
Mr. Weedman.
Aye.
Mr. LaBarbera. It is now 10:16. We are leaving our regular session. Rob, you don't need to be here.
Are you back in a regular
Yeah,
meeting?
yeah, well, yeah.
We're back in
yeah,
regular,
yeah,
we're back in
okay.
regular session. He's part of
Oh,
the
yeah.
roll call.
Go
Why
ahead,
don't
go
I
ahead.
need to be here?
No, you can be here, you can be here. And then we go back in regular session.
Rob said we're back on already.
You're on.
All right, the time is 10:35. We are back in regular session. Roll call, Mr. James,
Here.
Mr. Weedman.
Present.
Mr. LaBarbera. We had a discussion and a resolution authorizing a new contract for the township administrator and dispensing with the second reading. I have the resolution. Whereas Ray Warwick has served as township administrator since January the 1st, 2020, whereas Mr. Warwick was tasked with enhancing the operations of the township, whereas Mr. Warwick has fulfilled that goal, whereas Mr. Warwick's current salary is the same as the prior administrator, whereas that salary is less than the average salary of township administrators in the region, whereas the Board of Trustees, the Township Trustees, desires to retain the services of Mr. Warwick as it is in the best interest of the township and its residents. Whereas the trustees find Mr. Warwick's salary should be equal to the average salary or slightly higher given his performance. Whereas the trustees desire to approve a new contract with Mr. Warwick for the position of Township Administrator of Sycamore Township for 2021 with a salary of $135,000 and 2022 with a salary of $140,000, which shall supersede his existing contract. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Township Trustees of the Sycamore Township, State of Ohio, Section 1, the attached contract with Ray Warwick for the position of Township Administrator for 2021 and 2022 is hereby authorized and approved, and the Township Trustees and Fiscal Officer are directed to execute the contract on behalf of the Board. And I do have it here for the trustees to sign. And for the record, let's take a roll call, a vote.
You need a motion to approve it first.
Yeah, motion to approve
I'll second that.
and a vote. Let's call for the vote.
Well, I will note first simply that I'd like to affirm my support for Mr. Warwick. He's been beaten up by some people who have misrepresented his past in many ways, and his performance here as Township Administrator, despite some obstacles we faced this year, has been exemplary, and I'm happy with his performance and would like him to continue in opening things up, digging things out, and ensuring that we have a smoothly and efficiently run township in a business-like manner in the way we've been moving along.
Okay, and your vote?
Any other? My vote is aye.
Mr. Weedman?
No.
Ms. LaBarbera, aye, and again, I'm voting my 100% backing of Mr. Warwick. And
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and please stay safe and stay healthy. Here you go, Tom.